In the year 2023, supercars must not only announce their arrival with a shout, but also with a whisper. This is Ferrari's latest effort, the plug-in hybrid 296 GTB, and it is both incredible and incredibly complex. So let's take a closer look. Before we get into it though, please like this video, subscribe to the Car Sales channel, and leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on Ferrari's latest supercar. The easiest way to think of the 296 GTB is as a replacement for the F8 Tributo, but in reality it's quite a different machine, especially in terms of its mechanical makeup, and has gone up substantially in terms of price and performance. Australian pricing starts at just over $600,000 before on-road costs and personalisation, another name for adding lots of options, so don't expect too much change out of $1 million by the time it lands in your heated, air-conditioned multi-car garage. You might cross-shop the 296 with the likes of the McLaren Artura, Lamborghini Huracan Technica or Maserati MC20, but it also kind of sits out on its own. The 296's mission statement is all about being fun to drive rather than chasing outright lap times. So let's take a closer look at the details and then go for a drive later on and see if it succeeds. Part of that fun to drive mantra meant making the car as small as possible. It's certainly not tiny, but it is smaller than an F8 and with a 50mm shorter wheelbase too. It's not a featherweight though. Ferrari claims 1470 kilograms, but is a bit cheeky as that's a dry weight with all the lightest possible options. Sitting here with a full tank of fuel, add around 200 kilograms to that. Ferrari dedicates about 3,000 words in its press release about the design of the 296 GTB, but essentially it all comes down to whether you think it's good looking or not. If you've only seen pics, you might be on the fence, as I was, but I know it's a cliche, but it really is a very pretty car in the middle. It might not work in every colour, but the proportions are great, and this rear angle, which is like a modern interpretation of the 1960s 250LM, is just beautiful. What's not subjective are the aerodynamic benefits of the 296's shape. A few examples. The powertrain is cooled by radiators ahead of the front wheels, but this hot air is then sent underneath the car so it doesn't enter the air intakes on the rear flanks. Air intakes integrated into the headlights feed cool air directly to the brakes, which also have ventilation channels cast into the calipers. Moving the radiators to the sides creates space for the front underbody to suck the car to the ground at speed, without the need for active aero elements. The rear does have an active spoiler, which pops up at speed to add an extra 100 kilograms of downforce. So the Ferrari 296 is so named because it has a 2.9 litre V6, and I know what you're thinking. A V6, that doesn't sound very exciting, but I can promise you there's never been a V6 like this before. It is in fact a 3 litre V6, but Ferrari couldn't call it a 306 because then it would be a Peugeot. Aided by a pair of turbochargers, it produces 488 kilowatts, but add an electric motor to that and you have 610 kilowatts and 740 newton meters. Told you this wasn't any ordinary V6. It's a masterpiece of engineering. A wide 120-degree angle allows the turbos to fit in the V. New alloys means those turbos can spin to 180,000 RPM, and all sorts of metallurgical wizardry allows the engine to rev to 8,500 RPM. The real party piece though is hidden down here, sandwiched between the engine and the 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox. It's a little electric motor that allows the 296 to run for up to 25 k's in pure electric mode. But what it's really there for is performance, and the 296 is just ridiculous. 0 to 100 takes 2.9 seconds because that's effectively the limit of what rear-wheel drive can achieve. But 0 to 200 is claimed to take 7.3 seconds. That means the 296 can go from 100 to 200 k's an hour in the same time it takes a Golf R to go from 0 to 100. Now just between you and me, until fairly recently, Ferrari interiors weren't exactly the stuff of dreams. Yeah, there was plenty of leather and carbon, but also lots of very cheap plastic switchgear and maybe a very basic audio system. Things are now a bit different. Ferrari bucks the trend by having no central touchscreen, instead sandwiching everything into the digital instruments, including vehicle settings, navigation, audio, and you can have full screen or multiple displays. It's all controlled by this haptic pad on the right hand side of the steering wheel, and what have we learnt about haptic controls? They're not as good as regular buttons. Like, it's not terrible, but you have to tap the display to make it live and then figure out your input. And it's a similar story with the mirror controls. Now, that's quite distracting while you're driving, especially at night, because all the displays go dark and you can't see where everything is. While we're here, I might as well give you a tour of the steering wheel because there is an awful lot happening here. So again, starting on the right-hand side, we've got the right-hand indicator, the haptic pad I just explained, button for the heated and cooled seats, and then below that, we have the wiper controls, speed, and on the back, a paddle for the one swish, as well as another toggle for changing your track selection. Next to that, we've got the chassis Manettino settings here, as well as pressing that toggle selects bumpy road suspension mode, which I'll come to more later when we go for a drive. Engine start stop in the middle. Then on the left-hand side, we have the powertrain Manettino settings, 4 settings there. We also have the lights. Again, paddle on the back for your high beam flash. Toggle for cruise control up and down. Another little wheel here for volume up and down. Cruise control button, phone button, voice control button, and then last but not least, left-hand indicator. The passenger also gets their own screen, which can display performance data, navigation, or allow them to control the audio. So hopefully they've got good taste in tunes. All right, I've gone on long enough, time to go for a drive. Now, typically in a car like this, we'd now cut to a shot of the engine barking angrily into life, but this is 2023, remember, and supercars have to whisper as well as shout. Where do I even start with this thing? There is a lot to get through. I think I'll just go through each drive mode one by one and explain what it feels like and how it changes the car. So, as you can hear, nice and silent at the moment, we're in E-drive, which is electric drive. That locks the car in electric mode. You've got up to 25 kilometers of range. And if you think the idea of an electric mode in a supercar is silly, well, let me tell you, when I had to leave the house at 5 AM yesterday, my wife and baby were still asleep. EV mode was the greatest idea in the history of cars. It works pretty well, it gives you enough performance to sort of keep up with traffic, and it'll also help in the future if certain cities go to EV only zones, just to be able to drive your Ferrari. Next up, we got hybrid, and that's kind of your everyday mode, and the car will balance petrol power and electricity as it sees fit. If you ask for a big hit of acceleration, it'll fire up the engine. Otherwise, just cruising along like this, you'll just use the batteries. In terms of everyday driving, this is, well, it's no problem at all, really. It's very easy to drive. The one thing that takes a bit of getting used to is the steering. It's very fast, even by Ferrari standards. You only have to move the wheel, a fraction off center to get a response. So you've really got to consciously calm your inputs down until you become acclimatized. That aside, no problem. Steering's light, it's a bit of road noise, but not too bad. The ride is firm. It's certainly not a luxury car like some people say that this new generation of supercars are, but hit the bumpy road button and it gives this extra level of cushioning. It's like suddenly you get a bit of foam in all the dampers and the springs, and that really makes it a comfortable car. Again, it's not a magic carpet, but you can drive along on the highway or even bumpy roads like this, and it's not stiff or bouncing around at all. It's a perfectly acceptable ride. I've been driving around with bumpy road in all scenarios. It's almost the first thing I do when I start the car. Next up, performance. And as you can hear, that fires the engine into life permanently. There's also a qualifying mode, but that's basically for the racetrack, which gives you maximum power at all times. So let's stick with performance and talk about this powertrain. And that's a bit of a challenge because it's very difficult to describe just how fast this car is. I'll go back to the numbers I mentioned earlier. Remember, from 100 to 200, this thing is as fast as a Golf R is from 0 to 100. So if I select 4th gear, like I'm in at the moment, and floor the throttle and then select 5th, I'm accelerating as quickly as a Golf R does in full launch control maximum attack mode. Get your head around that. Now obviously I'm not going to do that right here because I'll go to jail for the rest of my life, but I did experience this on track yesterday, and we can put a clip in of that now. So that seems a pretty good segue to move over to the other side of the steering wheel and talk about the chassis settings, the traction control settings. So we'll start with wet, which is actually a pretty remarkable bit of software. So let me just slow down a bit, and I'll select second gear and go full throttle. Third gear, full throttle, no wheel spin, none. Not a shimmy, not a shake, not a judder, nothing. It's able to somehow precisely meter out exactly the right amount of power for the available traction. So, got to be careful calling things foolproof, but it's pretty foolproof. Next click is Sport, which again, despite the name, is pretty conservative. It's your sort of everyday mode where you're not sure what you're going to come up against in terms of road surface or conditions. So, to really bring this car alive though, let's click to Race, which despite the name, is actually a really good setting for road driving because it still gives plenty of electronic assistance if you need it, but it starts to let the car express itself and move around a little bit. Key to this is this crazy like 6-way sensor that's in this car now. It's a new thing for Ferrari, and it's got all sorts of G readings, G meters in it, and takes inputs from the wheel speeds and the accelerator and the steering everywhere. And the upshot is it can basically not only tell what the car is doing, but has it a pretty good guess at what it's going to do next. So, you know what it is? Kind of like Guitar Hero, that video game. So you still got to put in some inputs, you've still got to do some work, but it makes you just so much better. It makes you feel like you're an expert guitarist. This makes you feel like you're an expert driver driving a ludicrously powerful car in crazy conditions. Yes, you still have to drive it, you still have to drive the car and manage it, but it's working for you all the time and in a really subtle way. Now the next one is CT off, and that's where you really got to start to be on your game, because this activates Ferrari's slide slip, that's a mouthful, side slip control, which again is a remarkable bit of software. Again, it can sort of tell what the car is going to do, and on a wet road like this, it's not really the conditions to exploit it because it does really let the car have some serious leeway. But on a dry road, or particularly on a dry racetrack, you can basically go as fast as you want, get the car to pretty serious slip angles, while if something goes wrong and you're going to spin or something, the car will step in and still save you. And finally, if you're a driving hero, you can turn all the electronics off. So let's click it back to race because the conditions are pretty dicey today. I'll tell you what this thing's like to drive, and the answer is pretty amazing. The key thing with Ferraris in recent times has been the transparency. Obviously they've got heaps of grip and they're really, really fast, but what sets them apart is the transparency. By that I mean how easy they are to drive quickly in tricky conditions. They don't feel and ever like they're going to bite you or snap or do something evil. Steering doesn't have masses of communication, but I can still feel exactly how much grip the front tyres have. And it's a similar story with the rear, partly because I've got such amazing throttle response that I can precisely meter out exactly how much power I need. Ferrari seems to somehow have engineered the car to slide in slow motion. If the tyres do begin to lose some grip, front or rear a little bit, you can feel it immediately and you feel like you've got so much time to correct it and gather it up. This gives you a tremendous amount of confidence. Like, I'm driving an 830 horsepower supercar in wet, slippery conditions on a tight road, and I'm completely relaxed. It's very easy to drive, I don't feel nervous, I don't have sweaty palms. What's also important is that you don't have to be going flat out to enjoy driving this car. And that's just as well, because not only in conditions like this, but even in the dry, Frankly, you're never going to get anywhere near this car's limits on the public road. It's way too capable and way too fast. But that said, there's still plenty to enjoy because it feels so much lighter than its 1600 kilo odd curb weight would suggest. If I had to guess, it would probably be about, I don't know, 1300, 1350. It changes direction and responds to your inputs so quickly. This car is just an incredible bit of engineering, of calibration. Ferrari's been on a roll for quite a long time now with F430, 458, 488, F8. But this might be their best yet. Let's think about it. This is an 830 horsepower car with enough performance to make your head spin. Yet it sounds fantastic. It's got an EV only mode for social conscience. It's comfortable to drive. It's easy to drive. It handles brilliantly. It gives you feedback, gives you communication. This is just an absolute masterpiece and probably one of the very best supercars there's ever been. I'm sure by now that you've got the picture. The 296 GTB is one extraordinary motor car. Ferrari is starting its new era in a very similar fashion to how it ended its last one, at the very top of its game. And were I in the market for a new supercar, this would be very near the top of the list. As ever, it just begs the question, what the hell are they going to think of next? Thanks for watching.